Wow, what is this vegetable? I've never tasted anything like it before, and it's amazing.
These are the vegetables I've been sending, the ones I've poured my heart into growing. Yet my son says he's eating them for the first time today. I glance at my daughter-in-law, and she is clearly acting suspicious. She must know something about my vegetables. I'm Isabella, a 62-year-old housewife. My husband Cedric took early retirement and switched careers to farming, leasing some land from a friend. We live a quiet life, just the two of us, running our small farm. Our son David got a job in the city after graduating from college and is now married. He's a dad supporting a family with a 5-year-old child. Although we can't visit often due to the distance, knowing we're eating the same vegetables lessens the loneliness. I used to have a small garden, but farming is a whole different ballgame. I used to have a small vegetable garden at home. Initially, I was worried that my experience wouldn't be enough for full-scale farming, but my spouse and I found it to be a good fit, and we have been quite successful, especially considering we switched careers later in life. Our vegetable farming has been a hit, and now we get inquiries from all over asking to purchase our produce. We have always made it a priority to send freshly harvested vegetables to our son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. We send more whenever they ask. Unfortunately, I never get to hear directly from my son about how he feels about the vegetables. He is always busy, so I usually end up talking to my daughter-in-law, Stephanie. According to her, everyone in the family loves them. Whenever we send a shipment, she always says, "Thank you for the delicious vegetables. They're a big help. We're so lucky to have such tasty produce." But her thank you always sounds the same, and I wish I could hear more details about what they like. One day, Stephanie contacted me. I wondered why, since we hadn't sent anything recently. She said, "The vegetables that you sent are so delicious that we end up eating too much." It's nice to hear they enjoy them that much. She continued, "Could you send extra? My husband's coworkers would love to try them." She even said her husband was eager for his coworkers to try them, so how could I say no? Thinking it was for my son, I happily agreed to send more. We usually don't take large orders because it's just the two of us farming, but that year was a pool harvest. So we ended up sending a large shipment, turning down other customers. A few days later, my spouse and I went to the city to visit our daughter. She's single and busy with her career, which seems to be her passion. She mentioned that she lives near our son and suggested we visit since we finished our errands early. I was given detailed instructions on how to get from my daughter's home to my son's and his wife's house. We tried to contact Stephanie but couldn't reach her. So we called our son David, who said it was fine to come over. When we arrived, we were greeted by David and our grandson Edwards. Are you off work today?"
No, I'm just working remotely. I've been doing that for years.
This was surprising because Stephanie had told us he was swamped with work. What's going on?
Would you like something to drink or maybe a snack?
David had moved out after high school, so he should be able to handle basic chores. But he seemed exceptionally skilled.
I started switching to remote work when we found out my wife was pregnant. So I can handle all the household chores and even have some specialty dishes. I like to experiment with the cooking when I have time.
Then our grandson chimed in. "Dad's cooking is delicious." Wait, Dad's cooking? Where's Stephanie? She wasn't around, and I wondered if she had gone shopping since we arrived unannounced.
She's been on a trip with her friend since yesterday.
What? Turns out, my daughter-in-law's travels aren't a new thing. Being an understanding husband is good, but giving too much freedom can be a problem. I mentioned that their young child must miss his mom, and David laughs.
If it works for our family, it's fine.
If they're okay with it, who are we to complain? I decide not to interfere anymore.
Since she's not here, why don't you stay over?
When I was a little confused, he said, "Are you going to stay the night? Wow!" As I hesitate, my grandchild joyfully pulls my hand. Seeing this, I feel like taking up my son's offer, plus who knows when we'll see them again. So we decide to stay the night. David's cooking is surprisingly elaborate and tasty. He even made it less salty considering our taste, but something feels off when I try the side dish. It's not the vegetables we sent. We sent a lot just a few days ago. Even if he shared some with his co-workers, there should be plenty left for the family. My grandson is 5 years old, too young to be able to eat his fill, so what does that mean? I ask, did the vegetables we sent not suffice?
Vegetables? My wife usually buys them from the local supermarket. I didn't know you sent any.
That's strange. You said you wanted to share them with your co-workers, right?
No, I don't really talk to my co-workers much since I work remotely.
Something's not adding up. I realized the vegetables we sent didn't go to his co-workers, so where did they go? Are we falling prey to the current trend of resale? I carefully ask David. I often talk to Stephanie on the phone. It's only when I send them vegetables, but I talk to her more than I do with my son.
Really? She never mentioned that.
But if you're working remotely, don't you notice her taking calls?
Actually, she's often out. She calls from our mobile, not the landline, right?
That reminds me of a recent conversation. I recall hearing background noise during our calls. You can always tell when a phone call is coming from outside the house. There's a certain background noise. Come to think of it, the last time we talked, well, it was a few months ago, I heard a train in the background. Our son's house isn't near a train station and there are no tracks nearby. I sense my son wants to say something, but he's hesitant because his child is around. My husband picks up on it and says,
Let's go play outside after we eat.
Taking the grandchild away from the table. My son exhales lightly and starts.
So, the truth is,
he had said before that his wife's free-spirited behavior was what made their home life work, but that was a lie. Ever since he shifted mostly to remote work, she's been spending more nights out. At first, he didn't question her trips with friends until he ran into one of those supposed friends downtown. He recognized her from the photos he had been shown as proof of their trips together. So David is sure he's not mistaken. He didn't confront her then, thinking plans could change, but when she came home, she told tales of a fun trip with the friend he had just seen. He's starting to suspect she's not with a friend, but with another man. In other words, he suspects his wife is cheating. It was a shocking confession. We decide to delay our return home to wait for our daughter-in-law who's coming back tomorrow. Stephanie comes home clearly in high spirits. She had a great trip, it seems, but when she sees us sitting in the living room, she's visibly startled. What? Isabella? Cedric? Why are you here? She was clearly upset. David quickly says,
would you join us for dinner tonight?
As if it's a given. Of course! She agrees, but her behavior is suspicious. She's probably gone from cloud 9 to rock bottom. Still, the dinner menu that came out was decent, and I could see that it wasn't just buying deli food and plating it up. The dinner she serves is elaborate, not just takeout arranged on plates. She's probably overcompensating for something. Mom's cooking is so fancy today. Kids are honest. Stephanie hesitates, then says to her child, it's because Isabella and Cedric are here. Well, then you should stay forever. We see the color drain from her face. Don't be selfish, they have their own lives, she scolds, but when my husband jokes,
maybe we'll stay another night.
Our grandchild is thrilled and Stephanie turns pale. It's clear she wants us gone. But we pretend not to notice. Maybe she thinks we're just clueless old folks? We notice the side dish is full of vegetables, the color, the texture, the flavor that deepens as you chew. It's undoubtedly the produce we grew ourselves. Yesterday it was different vegetables, but today is the ones we sent. She must have been hiding them, sharing them only with herself, but it's too much for one person to eat. And where could she hide that much in this house? Between our son's story and these vegetables, something is definitely off. Our son and grandchild taste the side dish and both exclaim,
this is delicious!
Only Stephanie, our daughter-in-law, seemed momentarily flustered. She kept her eyes down and focused on eating another side dish. It's as if she's saying, don't bring up the vegetables. When we finish eating and prepare to leave, she looks visibly relieved. We offer to stay the night, citing our son's late work hours, but we decide to leave, concerned about the produce. We need to investigate this as soon as possible in place of our son. The next day, we hire a private investigator to look into Stephanie's activities. The results come back sooner than expected. Just as our son suspected, Stephanie was having an affair with a married man. But it's not just any married man. He works for a company that's a rival to our son's employer. Not only was she having an affair, but she was also leaking information. In other words, confidential information our son was handling was being passed to the rival company. The vegetable we sent in large quantities were being distributed within her lover's company, claiming they were from her parents. What was sent to our son's home was given to her lover. We weren't sending it for free to the person my wife was having an affair with or to his company. I had no idea that vegetables from a bad year, which I collected after apologizing and understanding my customers, would be used for something like this. We immediately shared the facts with David, our son. He's shocked to learn that his work information was compromised and takes immediate action. The affair concerns not just our son, but us as well. We pick a time when we're sure Stephanie will be with her lover and confront them, documents in hand. Their faces change color as they read through the evidence.
You can't just leak work information. I could get fired, and who's going to suffer when the money stops coming in? You!
David says, not hiding his anger. Stephanie quickly admits to the affair and the information leak.
It was just a whim. He said it was great information and he took me on trips because he got promoted thanks to me.
She admits it, but doesn't grasp the gravity of the situation.
That's it. We're getting a divorce.
No, please, reconsider. I'll apologize. Until you forgive me, I'll be a good wife, a good mom.
You want a man who's climbing the corporate ladder. Let him support you.
That's not possible.
Of course it's not. The man is also married. Stephanie cries and apologizes to our son, but he firmly says that tears are not an apology. Furthermore, our son David will take custody of the child. He tells Stephanie that she can't see the child until they are an adult. He sets strict conditions, saying she shouldn't even contact them unless the child wants to see her after reaching adulthood. Stephanie protests.
Wait, this child isn't just yours. I carried him. I love him.
She seems to want to maintain some relationship with our son for the sake of the child.
How can you say that? You claim to love the child, yet you have an affair? Didn't you think it would be cruel for the child to be raised by a mother who cheats?
Well, that's a natural conclusion. In the end, none of Stephanie's arguments hold water. We also demand compensation from her for the vegetables I sent to my son's family and for the ones she distributed to her lover's company. Naturally, this leads to her lover's wife finding out, and Stephanie gets slapped with another demand for compensation. Stephanie, who had been a housewife, can't afford to pay. She turns to her parents for help, but they don't give her a single dollar. We even hear they have cut ties with her. Neither we nor our son knows what's become of Stephanie, who had little experience in the real world. David has resigned from his job over the leak. His company highly valued his work and character and didn't hold him responsible for the leak. Who would ever think their own spouse would be having an affair with an employee of a rival company and leaking work information? Though the company offered to help him find another job, my son, who has a strong sense of responsibility, decided to pursue something he's always wanted to do. He sold the house he was living in and moved closer to where he grew up. He started his own business there. He's using his past experience to make it on his own. His office is adjacent to his home so he can work while taking care of his child. Still, he occasionally asks us to watch the child for him. When he has a day off, he brings our grandchild to help us with the farming, and so our family and our son's family are cooperating and enjoying our days.